All right, now I don't want to scare everyone this Halloween, but I brought in the scariest guy we know. Everyone's favorite ruffian. You know him from Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood. He's Clint Eastwood's favorite actor. He's done several films with Clint. FBI villain, very scary. Instantly lovable. The man who made Cold Case, the TV show, what it was, Mr. Jeremy Ratchford. Happy Halloween, Ratchford. You look good.
Happy Halloween, baby.
You look like you're ready to serve burnt steak and eggs off a chuck wagon. Did you get the part on Landman or whatever the fuck it was you
Oh,
were doing?
I
Did you
haven't, I
land that?
haven't gotten any of these fucking parts.
How is that
Pissing me
possible
off.
with your resume?
I don't know,
I don't
man.
get it. You know, very, very, very frustrating. Circling back to Halloween, though, you've been in a few scary movies, some intentionally scary, some not intentionally scary. But we looked at a few. We looked at a few films. We were talking about what we like to watch on Halloween, and you had a recommendation. I had a we have look. There's nothing out of the box on this. When you talk Halloween films, everyone's already seen everything. So if you're tuning in to hear some fantastic recommendation, it may come in the conversation, but it's unlikely. People are so in tune to this stuff. I mean, the movie you were talking about is one where I think you worked with 90% of the cast, which is From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah,
Uh,
I rewatched that, man, and
you on the
I'm
fence about it?
confused. Yeah, well, I mean, I'd rather talk about Halloween because there's a confession. I've never watched Halloween.
Wait,
I
what?
realized I
Did
watched
you?
it.
All right.
I had
So,
never. I've seen like that classic where he's standing by the hedge.
yeah,
I've seen that shot 1,000 times,
I've been to
but
that hedge.
I never sat down and watched the entire movie, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It really is, especially given the means in which it was produced. I have to, I mean, I suppose that's possible. You can miss these things. When I was a kid, I didn't see it for a long time because I was probably 4 or 5 when it came out. And in the trailer was Michael Myers walking down the stairs. And I remember thinking, like, I'm not watching this fucking movie anytime soon. Even as a kid, I had the F word ready to go. And I'm just like, I remember like being like pulverized with fear as like a kindergartner at this trailer. And then, of course, you watch it and you realize there's something very in tune with the Halloween season, obviously, but just fun to watch about it. It's a brilliantly executed, it's just a fun movie. And, in a day and age when people like to be dismissive of these things, I loved it. So I've been to that hedge, by the way, and the hedge is still up, which tells me the neighborhood is in on the joke. Because everyone this time of year, you can go, by the way, you can go to the house, you can go to the hardware store, which is now a fantastic Indian restaurant. You can go to Laurie Strode's house. I think they even put like a Judith Myers headstone out. And you can go to the cemetery. All the locations are still there, just like they were at the time. In fact, I just worked a relief center, a Red Cross relief center during the Eaton fire, right next to the YMCA, right next to the cemetery. And the cemetery is the size of somebody's backyard. But anyway, so let's take let's decompress Jeremy Ratchford's experience, first time experience watching Halloween. Okay, so you put this movie on. What are you thinking when this movie rolls, the credits roll, and the music fires up?
Uh, Again, because I'm so familiar. Da 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 da
Yeah,
da da
yeah,
da da. Boom, boom, all that stuff. Uh, and then it starts up, and then it was because I've seen it 1,000 times since. But
right.
this was sort of the first. You got the three girlfriends walking down the street. You got the little kid, and it's just the term Mayberry comes to mind. Like it's like small
Yeah,
town America, uh, and I've since done a deep dive and seeing that the the girl that was in Stripes, PJ, is it PJ
yeah,
Morse or
yeah.
yeah,
PJ Souls, Rock and Roll High
PJ
School. Yeah,
Souls?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because she says totally, like, and in an interview she goes, "Yeah, I tried to put totally in every line." Like they were having fun with it. Then to do the deep dive of going, they wrote the script in 10 days. They shot it in 20. I love the fact that they were doing Pasadena spring for sort of like New Jersey fall.
yeah.
Uh, they had bags of leaves that they either found or painted that they were throwing in front of the camera to give you that, because and you feel it.
What time tonight?
I don't know yet. I have to get out of taking my little brother
Saving
trick-or-treating.
treats for Bob.
Funny. See ya.
Bye. Bye.
Oh, look.
Look where?
Behind the bush.
I don't see
The guy
anything.
who drove by so fast, that one you yelled at.
Oh, subtle, isn't he? Hey, creep. Lori, dear. He wants to talk to you. He wants to take you out tonight.
He was standing right there.
Poor Lori. Scared another one away.
It's tragic you never go out. You must have a small fortune stashed from babysitting so much.
Guys think I'm too smart.
I don't. I think you're wacko. Now you're seeing men behind bushes.
Well, home sweet home. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Excuse me,
Oh,
Laurie.
Mr. Brackett, I'm sorry, Mr. Brackett.
Oh, I didn't mean to startle you.
Oh, it's all right.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
Yes, sir. Nice seeing you, sir.
Trick or treat! Trick or treat!
Well, kiddo, I thought you outgrew superstition.
One of those ones too. I'm going to try and articulate. You can taste, you can smell the air, you can taste it. Like it feels like fall. It feels like Halloween, and it's cinematic immunity that it was Pasadena in the spring. But then when you listen to Carpenter, everything that he was trying to do, and it was all by the seat of his pants. But it's like I have a feel like you can look at a lot of pieces of art, and there's one that hits you particularly because there's something in it that the artist did. It's like
Yeah.
like a great song. You can hear a lot of songs that are in the same vein, but then there's that one song that hits you and connects. And this one was sort of like his entire idea from start to finish was there. And then seeing in interviews where he kind of goes, "Oh, I had no idea. Like I was so terrified," but it came through. And I love the fact that what they call Mike the shape.
Yeah.
They didn't even want him to be a person. He was the shape.
Yeah, my understanding is
Uh,
the name Mike Myers comes from the English distributor for Assault on Precinct 13, so it's like a tribute. The name is a tribute,
yeah.
but
And
continue. Continue with your first time analysis.
there's all sorts of those Easter eggs with the names of people and the fact that
Yeah.
they wanted it back actress first, but then they got Jamie Lee, and Jamie Lee's, the mother of the psycho woman in the shower that gets a tribute to Hitchcock. And that was one of the first things and again, after doing a deep dive because now, I can't really talk about for the first time, but that whole first tracking shot of the murder of Mike Myers when he's a kid.
Incredible.
There's a point where they go through the living room and there's a shot of a rocking chair. And I went, is that from Psycho? I seem to remember something about a chair inside.
There is a rocking chair shot at the end of Psycho, and maybe it's tributary. I don't know, but more likely it's probably something they could get their hands on. I mean, that's one of the all-time great cinematic shots, that Panaglide opening, not because of what they accomplished on screen, but how they accomplished it for the screen. The idea that grips are jumping out of the way, and if you move to the left or the right, you'll see unfinished rooms, but it's just masterful. I mean, Carpenter's attention to detail is so impressive, particularly in this time period, because you tell people they're working on a film for 20 days. I don't know that everyone would care enough to have attention to detail. A lot of the departments, you give them a 2-week paycheck, 4-week paycheck, they're kind of mentally in and out of it. They're just kind of collecting the check. Not often, but sometimes, and I've experienced that myself. So to have the leaves, in our department, paint leaves, or right now you'd probably get like a kindergarten class to make autumn leaves. Put them on the wall, and then give me all the leaves, kids. All right, and then you'd be blowing those in front of your, a wind machine. But I mean, it's good, and I mean, people now will dissect every aspect of a film. Someone was critical when we were watching it the other day in the room. Someone was like, "Well, the concrete's wet when Jamie Lee Curtis leaves at the top of the day, right?" And that's a nice look. And then they walk around and they're gone all day. And when she comes home, the concrete is wet. And it's that way because they shot her going out and they shot her coming back without moving. But I thought, like, that's a silly thing to pick apart in a movie that did so much on so little. Like, I'm not taken out of it for that. And I love the actors in it too, because they're very convincing. And I was trying to remember, Jeremy, help me, because you just saw this for the first time. I was trying to remember if the first time I watched this, if I just assumed they were all going to be killed, or if I felt like maybe they weren't going to be killed. I'm trying to recall what my first impression was when the cast is walking down the street and they're doing all that, "Hey, jerk, speed kills." And then he stops and they're like, "Well, he's kind of cute, in his white mask." And
that was another one on a deep dive I did. There was this whole hullabaloo about how did Mike Myers learn how to drive?
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
I don't care. In fact, that, like, there are problems in anything, right? But even that, seeing the doctor and the nurse and she's smoking, and then just the shot of it's a body, obviously in a medical, it's like a bed sheet kind of outfit, because they show up and the outpatients are on the other side of the fence training, and then this thing leaps on top of the car and you see it from behind, and it's otherworldly. It's not like someone jumping. He kind of sails across it. And it was like, you go, ooh.
Yeah, and is that Nick Castle who makes that jump? I mean, he turned out to be a pretty interesting director and writer, but I think it's Nick Castle played the shape the first time around. I think he makes the jump too. And of course, you can see the wrench in his hand. But you don't ask these questions with a movie like this. You kind of buy into the fact that this movie isn't exactly supposed to give you documentary level forensic facts. This movie is just a fun, like, bit of Halloween, almost nonsense. It's just for a good time.
It's kind of funny because since then, because I haven't watched any of them. They were never in my wheelhouse. So I've never watched Freddy. I've never watched Jason. I've seen snippets of them if they came on late night TV, whatever. Like, I've seen sort of snippets of them, and it was always like, comes out of the lake, kills some, like, you turn to go, everyone dies. The thing I loved about this after the deep dive too, no gore, because they couldn't afford it. There's
Right,
no
but
blood.
the movie works on suspense and atmosphere, and I always think that's a stronger recipe. Look, we don't have to. We're not going to prove anything artistically by trying to amp up a kill count or kill methodology. Like that's something everyone can do. We can always figure out what creative ways to apply the effects, dismember somebody. But can you execute suspense? Can you keep people at the edge of their seat? Can you keep a movie riveting? That is a different level of filmmaking skill that I don't think some of the later directors and whatever Kill Count 13 or whatever it was are aware of or were allowed to apply. Sometimes it's the producers and the studios on this thing that don't care about that and say just start. They care about body count. But I like the way this is done. I really like the way the whole film is executed. I mean, it's a fun. I remember. I watch this every Halloween. It's kind of like, and I put it on in the day because this starts in the day. So I actually am more like intrigued by the moments leading up to the night of than the night of itself. I love the fact that he showed up at the schoolyard. He's outside her classroom window. And you can ask the same question about driving a car. You can ask about all that. How does he know she's at that school? Why does she go to the very kid she's going to babysit? And by the way, when they go to either going to or from the hardware store to see her dad, I worked with that actor too, by the way, Chuck Cyphers. When they do that, that's "Don't Fear the Reaper" by Blue Oyster Cult. Now, I interviewed Blue Oyster Cult backstage once, and I asked them about that, and they looked at each other like, we're probably owed some money for that. This was like in the last 10 years. They were like, we're probably owed some money. What do you think we're owed for? Like, they didn't even calculate the math on what they're probably owed for their song being in like one of the biggest independent horror films of all time. Like there's probably a bank account with like $40 million in it at this point, because that movie's made over $1 billion now. There's probably something that they're probably owed like more than $10 million in just their song being in that scene now. We're now what? We're 40 plus years removed from it, aren't we? Give or take.
78.
So yeah, 78. So actually we're more than 40, right? So so you think the accounting is ticking on every cable release, every it's camouflaged math, as we know, the dual book system at every studio, but there's money somewhere for those guys, and it didn't even occur to that band to be like, yeah, Don't Fear the Reaper, it is in that movie. We're probably owed some money. And they were talking anyway, back to the movie itself. Great actors. I think these actors, really proved themselves in this film. And I know Anne Lockhart was the first choice. Jamie Lee Curtis killed it. I asked Anne Lockhart if she regretted it too over dinner once at the Sagebrush Cantina. She said no. I find it hard to believe you don't regret. Look, everyone's got these moments, right, where they turn left instead of right. There's no shame. But Jamie Lee Curtis killed it. They do all these things like that are brilliant, like the setup in the clothesline. Everyone's got a fucking dryer now. But of course, the visual of clothes blowing sheets. How many sheets are you washing in this house? What goes on in this house? But the visual of it is just like, you're into it, right? And he's looking up at her window. The only thing that I've ever questioned, and I question it out of fun, is the rhythm of the events. Like Donald Pleasance, for some reason, knows to go to the cemetery and suspects, by his reaction, we can tell, suspects the tombstone is going to be gone. Because he's like, well, he came. Why the fuck do you even ask whose grave it is? Donald. You know, Loomis. But it's like, and Loomis, by the way, is also a throwback to Psycho, the name Loomis. But he's also like, whose is it? And the graveyard keep. Why do they do it? Damn kids. The Scooby-Doo moment, right? And it's Judith Myers. He's like, counts the graves. Like, we know, we get it. It's connected. And he's just like, he came home. And then, but like, he steals the headstone, right? To put on display later. Now, initially I thought, was Michael Myers walking that headstone through town? And is he doing so in a mask? And is he able to do that because it's Halloween? Or is he throwing it in the back of the car that he ripped off and driving it through town? Because he's doing a lot of cruising too. Michael Myers does a lot of neighborhood cruising in this film. I mean, he's outside of he's running, he's behind the chicks, checking them out. He's at the hardware store, so he knows Loomis is in town. And what do you think's going through Michael Myers' head at that point, where he's like, "Oh, Loomis, I'm not going to kill you, but I'm going to make you very agitated tonight. Give me a couple hours, Loomis. When the sun goes down, you and that police chief, sheriff, you're going to have a night on your hands you're never going to forget." And then he pulls away. Like, what is, I always think, like, in looking at these movies, like, what is going through the characters' heads and why are they doing these things? The other thing I would think, too, is they seem to carve that pumpkin a little late, don't they? Shouldn't you carve that pumpkin earlier? I mean, come on, Jamie. That pumpkin should be carved earlier. That pumpkin is like, it's almost like they're back from trick or treating and she carves the pumpkin. I'm like, what are we doing? Like the other, I think her friend has already been whacked by the time she's carving that pumpkin. Hasn't she? She got whacked
yeah.
because, I don't know. The whole thing is, it's a cyclone of chaos, but I love every aspect of it. It is such a fun movie. I mean, even Siskel and Ebert like this fucking movie. And those guys, come on. So anyway, so you're watching this. What's that?
They don't like anything.
Have you ever worked for anyone on this, with anyone? Have you ever worked for Carpenter?
No.
I'm surprised because you seem like his kind of actor. But what about like anyone in the movie? Have you ever done anything with PJ Soles or Jamie Lee Curtis?
No, I haven't.
That's hard to believe too.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now, but yeah, I haven't.
Jeremy's got to look at his own IMDb page to see if he's worked with any of these people. He's got too many credits.
I'm looking at the Halloween cast, and I haven't worked with anyone. Yeah, I don't even think there's a chance somebody might have done a cold case, but I don't know. I'm discovering more and more cold case things. Is like, oh shit, that person. But if they were in a flashback, I would have never met them. Right. Depending on that, because cold case was a banquet of actors because we had double casts and double shows. Like
that's right. That's right.
So, I did get to ask Peter Graves if he liked gladiator movies at the end of an interrogation. And
how was he with that? Was he fun? Did he have fun with that, or was he pissed off?
It was wonderful. He started laughing and you could feel it. Like he and I got along, and we made sure we got the interrogation done. And then I kind of pulled a Columbo, like, "Oh, just one more thing. You like gladiator movies?" And the smile that came across his face, and he told a great story about that. He was in line at a grocery store, and this kid kept looking back at him, and he went, "Oh, this kid probably recognizes me from Airplane." And it's like, it's a goof. So he leans into the kid and said, "Do you like gladiator movies?" And the mother turns at that point and just sees a man asking her child if she likes. She grabs his kid and they just bolt. And he's like, "No, I wasn't being creepy. I was genuine in my."
He was well known. He was well known prior to Airplane. The dude he worked all the time. He was in Dialogue 17. He was on Mission Impossible.
Right or turn left.
Yeah.
Turn right or turn left. That was him doing that and Leslie Nielsen doing Naked Gun. It's like, talk about career-changing roles.
Right, because Leslie Nielsen was a notorious bad guy up until that point. He got a chance to sort of reverse course, and that's probably why he did it for the paycheck. Come on. But also, the allure with the paycheck is you get to have fun and be funny. And look, it worked. He loved, and then he was, look at what happened after that. The real paycheck came later when he started doing the Naked Gun movies and all that, right? So gold for him. So one of my favorite moments like that, on set moments of like people asking people to break character, comes from director Michael Lang, who had done everything: X-Files, Bones, Criminal Minds, and he was doing an episode of The Commish, I think, or something. And Kenneth McMillan is the actor. Kenneth McMillan has done and did a lot of stage, but a lot of films. But most people would recognize him as Baron Harkonnen in David Lynch's Dune. And so Michael Lang stops him and he goes, listen, I'm not feeling the intensity from you in this scene. So do me a favor. Just say, "He who controls the spice controls the universe." And Kenneth McMillan looks at him like, "What?" He goes, just say, he who controls the spice controls the universe. And so Kenneth McMillan goes, he who controls the spice controls the universe. And he's like, no, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it, Kenneth. Like, he who controls the spice controls the universe. And Kenneth McMillan goes, he who controls the spice controls the universe? He's like, no, do it like Baron Harkonnen. You were spitting up with rage. And he finally works him up to the point where he's like, he who controls the spice controls the universe. And the whole crew, of course, is applauding because they know the movie. And I guess it was a mechanism to get him right where he needed to be for the character, but it was so funny because he was also a fan. So he's getting Baron Harkonnen to do all his Harkonnen-ness. Anyway, fun little, God, fuck. When has the commish been mentioned on this show? How about never until now? So there you go. Never know where the conversation will take us. But getting back to Halloween real quick, if you want to scientifically rip a movie apart, well, this one's ripe for it. But why do that? Like, this is just a fun, and I'm always thinking like, okay, so he also manages to kill a tow truck driver. Remember, you find him in the weeds, and he takes his jumpsuit, and like, how did you get your hands on a tow truck driver? Like, what was the tow truck driver doing that allowed you to kill him? And why the jump? Anyway, but who cares? Who cares? Like I said, the timing. Okay, here's another question though, and it's just a question. I'm only having fun here. When he comes in to kill PJ Souls, and she's, get me a beer.
It's brilliantly comical and horrifying.
Yeah,
because you know him, and he's got the sheet like the ghost costume with the dude's sunglasses on, and he's huge, so much bigger, and you're going, uh-oh. It was again horrifying and fucking comically brilliant.
I wonder, like, so the thinking is like Michael Myers has the mask on, then he throws the sheet on, and then he throws the glasses on. It's like a triple layered costume. Like, what's he thinking? Like, it'd be really funny if I threw the sheet on and his glasses when I kill this, this high school, because they're all in high school, which is funny because, again, with these movies, Christine, take your movie. I'm not out of it for this reason, but they all look like community college at best. They're all pretty old, but I almost forget that they're high school students in this. They're kids, basically. They're supposed to be minors getting murdered, right? Because you're 17. I was 17 when I graduated high school, so they're all supposed to be that. So he's going up there and he's like, I'm going to kill this young punk, but to do it, I'm going to put on his glasses. Oh, and I love Charlie Brown. Let me get a sheet. And I'm going to keep my mask on. By the way, we were also discussing who gets the money for the mask now, because it's a William Shatner mask made by Post, right? So does Shatner get it? Do you think Shatner at one point, I bet he did. I bet you Shatner at one point had his accountants and lawyers look into it, go, see if I'm owed any money for this. Because it's Shatner's mask.
He bought it for $1.98 at the Hollywood costume shop. And when you look, again, I did a deep dive on it. When you look at the original mask, it looks nothing like Shatner.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And they took the eyebrows off, they took the sideburns off, and they had a fine head of hair, and they messed that up. And then they widened the eyes based on a French movie about a woman who had been burned. So she wears a mask the entire movie that has no, the only emotion you ever get from this woman is her eyes, because the face is
it's eyes without a face, isn't it? Isn't it eyes without a face where they take it from?
I didn't write it down.
And it's not the Billy Idol song, people. We're talking about a movie here. Anyway, sorry. By the way, do you know the Billy Idol Dancing with Myself video was directed by our buddy Toby Hooper? Toby Hooper told me he directed that video. Dancing with Myself for Billy Idol. All right, there's your fucking MTV fun fact for the day right there. Toby Hooper, Billy Idol, The Connection, Dancing with Myself. Continue. So the mask.
So and then they painted it white or whiter than it was. Because I don't even think the original mask was like a flesh colored. It was just
Yeah.
I don't
It
even.
was like a pink or something, like a pink.
But that also goes in. That's one of the things in the movie because when you go to the hardware store, he stole a mask, a knife, and some rope. So I guess they sell masks at the hardware store, which is cute.
It's
I'm not gonna
Halloween
buy.
time. Look, I'm buying it. I'm buying it. Even though
Yeah,
Chuck Cyphers, and again, an actor I worked with, his basic investigation is weak at best. Basically just making a note of what was stolen and then on his way. What the fuck takes 10 minutes, Chuck? You're talking to Loomis. This is what I love too. Loomis walks up and he's like, I basically have to tell you the world's most dangerous homicidal maniac is in your town. He's like, hold up, 10 minutes. Somebody stole a mask out of here. Do you mind? Why don't you just hang here? I'm going to wrap this investigation up and then we'll get to your homicidal killer. But it,
this also lends itself to every horror movie. Like, don't go in the basement. Uh, don't answer the door. Don't answer like it's like and you have to and there's a great there are two things. There's a great ad. I think it's an insurance thing or whatever. It's kids running terrified of something, and there's a running car, a Mustang on the laneway, and they go, should we get in the Mustang and drive away? And they go, no, let's hide behind that wall of chainsaws. And it's
Yeah.
sort of like that's that classic Halloween or horror movie thing. And then I do remember, I haven't seen it since. I don't know how long, and I have to look it up. Student Bodies, I think it was called.
Hello, it's me, the heavy breather from every horror film you've ever seen. You know me. First I terrorize my victim by the telephone. Then I choose my murder weapon. A gun? Nah, too easy. A hatchet? Nah, I always use a hatchet. For this movie, I want something very frightening and deadly. Then I climb the stairs to surprise my victims. Why do they always live upstairs? This movie's a comedy, so killing's not so easy. Sugarless. The movie's called Student Bodies, so I picked a typical American high school.
This is Mr. Peters, your principal.
Mr. Peters! You're naked!
Yes, Toby. All these years I've been secretly naked underneath my clothes.
Meet the rest of the faculty. The shop teacher, the guidance counselor, the janitor with the IQ of a handball.
What's he doing?
Sex education teacher.
This is totally unnecessary, ugly, and gets in the way.
Your mother?
She also told me that sex was bad and dirty, but only with my father. With everyone else, she said it was great.
I'm into murder myself, and student bodies are gonna be everywhere.
Dead bodies downfield. 15-yard penalty.
See Student Bodies, a killer comedy.
Okay. Now that's the first reference to Student Bodies. Was that a trauma film? I remember that movie. It's a comedy. It's supposed to be a comedy.
It's a spoof. It opens up saying,
Yeah.
Of 1,800 horror movies ever made, not one of them has lost money. So it's sort of like, we're telling you right now, they all make money, and it's got, now I'm looking at it, thinking back, it's got the Mike Miley.
Yeah.
You're following the POV. and he's walking upstairs, and he steps on some gum, and it's like, and he's pissed off. He stepped in gum. He's like, gum.
Yeah.
And then he says something about his breathing, but then he goes into a little nook at the side of the house, and there's a box that's titled "Murder Weapons."
Yep.
And he lifts it up, and it's got them all labeled. And the one that he picks is a paperclip, I think. But,
yeah, it's a Brooksian take on the slasher film.
Find that one, because now getting hooked on Halloween. Yeah, because I just absolutely loved this movie and all the stories around it, how it came to be, the music, the icons. And there was a great, I saw again on a deep dive. They were talking about, Jamie Lee Curtis finds the girl with the headstone. The body of the guy falls. She opens up a cabinet. There's her other friend. She goes into the corner. She says, like, oh my God. And they have him, and they talk to the DOP. It was a dimmer that they used because he's completely in black. But dimmer, and you can just, his face just barely comes through. And it's like, because there's moments of that, like through the door shuts. You turn back, he's there. You turn back, he's gone. Like, and there's some of the classic shots of across the street where he's just standing there watching in the house, and the boogeyman, like iconic, and it's so dark, and kind of to pick back up on what we started talking about, like the craziness of From Dusk Till Dawn compared to this one, not even close.
So Dean Cundy deserves a lot of credit for the creation of some of the suspense with his lighting scheme and all that. We know how brilliant he is. What's interesting about the scene you're talking about, one of the scenes where Michael Myers is across the street at night, is that's Deborah Hill, the script supervisor who turned out to be an awesome producer. She's doing the Michael Myers there. She's Michael Myers like 4 or 5 times in the movie. I think everyone kind of took turns whenever they, this was a family affair almost, it feels like, where they're like, hey, jump in the jumpsuit. I'm going to shoot this shot. And that's part of what I think people like so much about it is the way it was put together. There was no studio juggernaut behind this. There was just nothing but passion. Like, people wanted to do a movie and they executed. And Carpenter, to his credit, did what Carpenter does, which is create an interesting story and execute it in the best way possible. He wanted to do Westerns. I'm sure when he got the idea, like The Job, he was like, it's a job. But he did everything he could do to make that. I mean, the whole thing with that hedge you were talking about earlier, where he's there and then he's not. And she sees him, no one else does. And Laurie, he wants to take you out tonight. And that's what suddenly gets her to walk forward. I mean, you can see when she's walking that a couple of the locals pop their head up over the hedge to kind of see what they're filming. And there's moments like that, but it almost makes the film more charming, honestly. Like, the mistakes in it almost make it more endearing to me. I mean, we know what goes into making a movie, and it's fucking tough. So to pull this thing off in 1977 or 78, props. What were you going to say?
One of the things, I did a deep dive. They talked about how he doesn't run; he just walks.
Right.
He's always good there. And there was something saying, "Oh, this was the first time," and the bad guy that never runs and stuff. And
not true. I would say not true. In fact, I would point to Westworld. But whatever, it doesn't matter who did it first. Continue.
They actually showed Westworld in one of these clips. But I'll go back even further, and the reason behind it: Jack Palance in Shane.
Yeah, possibly.
He couldn't ride a horse. They wanted to have him ride into town on his horse, and he bounced around so much. They said, and he said, "Let me just." So he walks that horse into town. He's on it. But the horse is walking, and they said this was the baddest thing they'd ever seen because this guy doesn't even gallop into town. It's just clip, clip, clop.
Yeah,
clip,
we
clip.
even had
I'll go one further. he couldn't even get on or off the horse. So when you see him mounting the horse, it's actually him getting off the horse with the film reversed because his leg pauses. When you're getting on a horse, like when you're getting off a horse, you kind of leg goes up, you adjust, and you go down.
So
he goes up. He could not ride a horse, and he became one of the baddest Western villain guy. Like, became known for Westerns. And the very first gig that he did, he couldn't ride a horse. I love it.
You know, you're talking as if you know something about making a Western. It's almost as if you've been in a few. Maybe with some guy named Clint Eastwood. More on that later. So we had that conversation, and I it's not exactly top secret. I do think Westworld probably played into Carpenter's thinking. Westworld was directed by Michael Crichton. And it's funny because I actually think Michael Crichton got the idea from Westworld, from the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. This is my theory. He saw the animatronics, he came up with Westworld, and then Spielberg actually pays it back in Jurassic Park when Jeff Goldblum has the line, when the Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the tourists. And I think so Spielberg pays it back to Crichton, actually, in Crichton's Jurassic Park, right? So, but I do think like Yul Brynner, who is good in that, actually. Yul Brynner was good in everything. I don't think Yul Brynner ever really came up short in a performance. And you know what was crazy? He lived right up the street from me when we were kids. Very friendly guy. But Yul Brynner sold it. I think Carpenter took inspiration from it, which is what we do in our business. And look, it works. Because if you remember in Westworld, like that guy, the one thing I remember watching Westworld as a kid was that guy was running for his life, Benjamin. Brolin gets killed. And you expect Brolin to live, right? Didn't you when you were watching it? But Brolin gets gunned down.
It has been forever since I've seen that movie.
And well, they do everything they can do to stop Brenner, and Brenner's like following him through the western town, through the outskirts, in the underground laboratory. They throw acid on him, they burn him.
I say this, the best opening of a movie that I've ever seen is Adios Sabata.
Oh, with Brenner.
Yul Brynner, his introduction, followed by the introduction of the bad guys. I was hooked.
Yeah. Now, was Brenner the original? Or was it Lee Van Cleef? Was it Lee Van Cleef who did it first? Who played the character first? Or was it the other way around? Was it Brenner then Lee Van Cleef? Because both those guys in the 60s and 70s never met a paycheck they didn't like. So I'm not faulting either one of them, but they both played the part. I think Lee Van Cleef even played it more than once. Fun movie though. The guy that drops the lead balls in the musket balls in his shoes, and he does like the kick to. I mean, that's a lot of practice to kill a man, but whatever.
But like first, he jumps down off the tower onto a wooden platform, does like a dance or whatever, jumps on to a saddleless white horse, flies down there. I think that's when he gets off and does the dance. And then you see the guy that's in trouble doing one of these, and then he takes that ball out, drops it into the indent that's on his boot. So it's designed for this, and then does this Pele back kick, and boom. I was like, that was the most incredible opening for him. And then there's Yul Brynner with like putting the claws in the coffin.
They cast a lot of faces. They cast a lot of faces in those movies. You could get hired based on how you looked, and they did an excellent job at it. But I always think of potential backstories with characters where he does have a custom-made shoe, moccasin for it, and he had to have that made somewhere. So he goes into what do you call like the shoemaker? What was the job Daniel Day-Lewis did? Cobbler.
I was just about to say Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, because he he worked as a cobbler in between movies to keep his sanity or something. Like in a low-key Italian village or something. But you go into like a shoemaker and be like, look, here's what I need. And the shoemaker's like, what? What are you going to do with this? And he's like, well, here's the best part. I'm going to drop a heavy metal ball into this little socket you build. And then I'm going to do a cartwheel and launch that ball across the street and kill a man. And I'm pretty sure the guy making the shoe is like, we have firearms now. There's a better, easier way and probably a more thorough way to make sure your opponent stays down than kicking this ball. But the guy argues with him. Like, you can see the scene cut out of the movie where the guy's like, no. This will be way more theatrical. The impression I make when I kick this ball into this dude's skull is what everyone's going to want.
Going back to that movie, too, it's got 17 endings. Like, it just went on and on and on.
Are you talking about Adios Sabata, or are you talking about Halloween?
Yeah. Adios Sabata, or Sabata. I don't even know how to say it, but there's that ship in the guy's office or his parlor. It's this huge, ornate battleship that's actually armed. So like all the cannons are little guns and it kills people.
Right. The Austrian guy. It's a model. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, 5 feet long, 3 feet high. It was crazy.
There's a fine line in all these movies, and even today, between the theatrical moment you want and the logic it takes to get there. And Adios Sabata crosses the line a little bit. A lot of these movies do. But it's fun. It's still fun. And there's like that guy has to like lure someone in front of his model so his model can shoot him. And again, you're thinking, this is a guy that can have anyone executed on command. But for whatever reason, he's got like this bathtub-sized gunboat, and he wants to make sure you stand in front of it at just the right time so he can be like, fire! He's the typical guy. He's got like the monocle, and he's having like his bratwurst dinner. But yeah, look, it's a fun movie. Adios Sabata, and it's on Amazon now for free, and probably YouTube. You can see that movie today. And Halloween. Actually, I have to say too, Halloween, for the first time, for me anyway, you have free access to Halloween. It used to be something that one of the networks or streaming services stitched up for October, knowing everyone was going back to it. But for some reason, it's available pretty much free on several different streaming services. So I like it, though, man. I like the movie. I think my daughter came up with the perfect sequel for Halloween, and it's not Halloween 2. I don't want to disclose her story, but it was the funniest take on how this town actually reacts to Halloween. First thing, in her opening shot, it's a bunch of U-Hauls just leaving town. Like the day before Halloween the next year, right? Just a bunch of U-Hauls leaving, and everyone's like, we're out of here. Anyway, I won't spoil her take, but it was one of the funniest, for a non-filmmaker, it was one of the best sort of creative sequels for Halloween. But look, I was just at John Carpenter's office. I dropped off Halloween posters for him to sign for our charity auction for November 21st with the very purpose and intent of people being well aware people love that movie, and that poster with his signature on it is going to sell. It is a fun movie, and it's good to see Carpenter get the recognition he deserves, because I think he was kind of, for a while in America, not given the respect he deserved coming up through the ranks. I think with the Halloween in the Fog, there were still people that kind of wrongly, mind you, were dismissive of him, and he deserved better, and I'm glad he's starting to get it. Your thoughts?
Yep. And it would be really interesting. I watched a couple documentaries on it. Like I went to town on this one. Once I got hooked, it's like I want to find out. And I think there's a little piece of him too that really wonders what his career would be like without it, because it kind of pigeonholed him. And then when you see, and I saw some interviews with producers and like who owned the rights and who did this, and they wanted him back in and how they did that. And it was sort of like, I don't want to do, Halloween 9. And then there was another one. And I love the fact, Jamie Lee Curtis has never shied away from this franchise. And I get so tired of actors that have a career-making vehicle that then 10 or 15 years later they go, I don't want to talk about that. It's like, no, that made your career. So it's like, I remember I took my dad to see Harry Belafonte. And he started talking to the orchestra conductor, and he took the baton from the orchestra conductor and he starts getting the orchestra going, and it reaches this huge crescendo. And at the very height of it, Belafonte just bells out, "Damn!"
Yeah.
And collapses on the stage, and you don't know what's going on. What? And then very dramatically, he rights himself, and he stands in front of the audience and he says, "If there are any parents out there that have a child that is getting into the music industry, you must tell them to be very careful of the song they choose to break out with, because they will be forced to sing that song at every concert for the rest of their life." And it was like, he was telling you, oh, fuck, I got to do it. It's the song, but he does it. And I get so tired of actors that kind of go, oh, I wish I hadn't been James Bond, or I wish I hadn't have done this, or you kind of go, hey, dude, that gave you a leg up.
No, I agree. Look, you are lucky if you have a breakout song everyone wants to hear. You're lucky if you have a movie like this that everyone wants to see on Halloween. Not just a great movie that people put on occasionally, but a movie that's part of like Americana culture and ritual this time of year. You're fortunate if you have it. I mean, she said that she didn't work for 2 years after that until she got The Fog. I believe it. I mean, she did like a Love Boat or something, and I believe it, and I think that's ridiculous because certainly now we know better, but at the time it's like, I think personally, like looking at this movie and thinking about what Carpenter's career would have been like without it, I think it's great we don't know, because his career and what he was given, what he has given us, based on this flight path, I mean, there's some of the best films ever. The Thing is one of the best movies ever made. Would he have been able to do The Thing without the success of Halloween a few years earlier with The Fog and Escape from New York in between? He's very inventive. So we don't know. We just don't know. And he's probably wondered, but he does not have a problem talking about Halloween all these years later. And I'm sure he thinks there's a lot of things. He was a very original guy. Like, he's only done one sequel that I can recall. He's done a remake, right? Village of the Damned. But, I think like, he's a guy that likes to do Big Trouble in Little China, and we're going to do Escape from New York, and I just think he's thoroughly original, and he likes to do original work, but he does not have a problem talking about what broke him into the industry. And I mean, I just sent up a Michael Myers action figure for him to sign. I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but we did for the auction. Someone donated one. I said, that's going up with all the Big Trouble in Little China stuff. Anyway, I'm actually amazed this movie skipped past Ratchford's Halloween viewing radar for all these years. I'm amazed it took you this long to see it, but I'm glad you did see it.
Again, because I didn't do any of the Freddy's or the Jasons. I've seen them in the back, in my 20s when I was it was 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and they were on. It was sort of, but I never sat down and watched because they were never my thing. The closest I got to horror, I would say, would be Jaws. When it comes to that kind of like but I never got into the like I watched Psycho. Those movies never they and I think maybe too because so many of the people I know that loved them were a little fucked. And my thing too was I didn't want. I remember, was I dating someone? Whatever it was, but it was sort of like you can't sleep, you have bad dreams. What kind of movies do you? Oh, you watch these crazy psycho horror, like so. You're going to bed with this shit in your head. It's not right. Whereas now that I've seen Halloween, I mean, it's great when he rises up in the background and the thing, but I didn't go to sleep going, oh.
I have no doubt. I don't know if they watched dailies for this. I'm guessing they must have. And I'm not sure if it was like an open forum daily session or, I was on a movie where dailies were like at 8 a.m, and really only the director and DP were there. So I don't know what they did for dailies for this, if everyone could see it. But had they
Jamie
done
Lee
it,
Curtis,
Jamie Lee Curtis,
Jamie Lee Curtis, she told a story about she thought she'd done such a horrible job on her first day
yeah,
that she was going to get fired. And she got a call that night or the next morning, I can't remember what it was, from Carpenter. And she said the phone rang and she picked it up. She goes, here it comes. I'm going to get the axe. And she goes, hey, it's John. He goes, I just want to tell you, I looked at the dailies. You did so great. You were fantastic. And she says, that's the first and last time I've ever gotten a call like that.
That says something. And I think directors and producers should do that. I think people should do that give that kind of recognition, regardless of the job and the profession you're in. I think people should pass on recognition and thanks for good work much more often than they seem to. And they should actually tell people the good things they're thinking. So props to that actually says a lot about Carpenter. But when do you think it clicked? Do you think they were watching the dailies and they realized this movie works? Or do you think they got it all done and said, well, here it is. We don't know. We'll wait for what the audience tells us?
Oh, right. So then there's the whole story behind the music. Yeah, the music, it took them 3 days. And it's based on the fact that he had a bongo as a teenager. The only thing he learned on the bongo was where they got 3/4 time.
But had his dad not shown him that, you would not have this music. So his dad played a part in this.
Yes.
Continue.
Then you cut to, he showed the movie to an executive and they went, this is a piece of shit. Then he showed it to them with the music. And they went, oh my God, because the music, he said, if I can't scare you with something, I can get you with the music. And the music became so integral. And I also love the fact not one studio would touch it. After it was done, after the music was complete, they had a screening, no one came, no one gave a fuck. And then the guys behind the scenes kind of said, well, let's just put it out ourselves. And one of the guys had a relationship with MGM, I think it was.
Yes. Yeah.
We got 400 copies of the movie made. And they started forwalling it. They started going from town to town and showing it. And he said, I remember one of the documentaries, he said, we saw the receipts come in, and we'd made, I'm going to use horrible math, but they made $200 on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
And he goes, it wasn't great, it wasn't bad. Then $300 on Wednesday, and then $600 on Thursday, and then $1,200 because they said, and the guy even says, I didn't realize the power of the word of mouth. And this movie, when it came out, just kept building and building and building. And then I love the fact that none of the studios would touch it. And then within months, Friday the 13th, blah, 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 they all started doing their own slasher things going, we missed the boat.
With specific instructions to steal it. Like most people are very open about it. Their directives from the studio were take that movie and give us our version. You know, in conversations about four-walling, I remember thinking, and when I was at Warner Brothers, there were a couple of smaller distributorships that practiced that. And I remember thinking, like, that is a very pure way to find out what you got as a movie. Because if it works, it will work and it'll work big. And it works at minimal expense. You know, you don't have to open in 10,000 screens. You just open in certain towns doing all your P&A in that town and you see. You know, you get a chance to see. I don't know, man. It was always fascinating to hear the four-wall stories. Like William Castle would four-wall a lot of movies, but I'm always kind of interested to hear about four-wall results. You know, still
Peter Falk.
Yeah,
Peter Falk.
Yeah. What's his name from Rosemary's Baby? The actor. Shit, I'm embarrassed because we would know his name if we didn't have to recall it. But as soon as we need a name, we can't give it to you. Cassavetes four-walled the living shit out of his stuff.
I've never seen Rosemary's Baby, and I've never seen The Exorcist.
One time
I just never had the desire. I've seen snippets and clippets and all that stuff, but they were just never. Or what's The Omen? Those were movies. They were never in my wheelhouse to watch.
It's interesting to think that The Exorcist and The French Connection is the same director, Friedkin, because they're such very different movies. But also, The Omen was Richard Donner. Polanski did Rosemary. I'm not a fan of Rosemary's Baby, particularly because the characters in there, to me, are very obnoxious. So I kind of cash out on a movie if the characters are bothering me in real time. But it is considered. What's that?
Maybe I'm discovering something about myself. I think what turned me off the whole thing was I went and saw It's Alive. You remember It's Alive?
Never seen it, but I know the movie.
The only thing wrong with the Johnsons' baby is It's Alive.
Do you remember when the show Soap did the whole Rosemary's Baby parody cycle in their soap opera at night, and they had the baby, and I think it was Billy Crystal. I don't know if it was his kid, but he was close to this, and they were the lights would flicker and the crib would move on its own, and then there would be a demon tail that would flip out and of the crib, and Billy Crystal would be I think this baby may actually be the devil. I'm just going out on a limb here, but I have a feeling this baby may be possessed, and the lights, it's like the Amityville. Anyway, Soap kind of took it to a place where I guess it's the only place you can go sometimes with that stuff, But no, continue.
An old acting coach of mine, David Rotenberg, rest in peace. His dad was a part of an investment group, and they actually invested in that movie, not knowing what it was. And his dad, once the movie came out and he saw it, he gave any proceeds that he would have got to charity because he hated the movie so much. It was I want nothing to do with this movie. That was well after the fact.
That is the problem with the horror category in general, in my personal, and it's only my opinion, is that you have to kind of navigate through so much crap to get to a couple of gems. There's just so much garbage and Xerox copied trash but every once in a while, man, you find a movie that is really, really, really good. And I would have to say Carpenter was kind of a master at that in with The Fog, which I know is not fully appreciated by people the way I appreciate it. I still think he delivered something very unique, and it was a cut above all these other, everyone knows what I'm fucking saying. I mean, if you haven't seen Halloween, I mean, there are people out there that don't like this movie, and for that, I cannot get my head around that because I think this movie is so full of fun. Like I said, when they're walking home, I am buying every bit of that conversation, with except for the fact that they were the same age as my mom's friends. I'm buying the fact that they're like walking home, and I forgot my chemistry book, and I'd rather go out with Ben Tramer. Oh, well, let's arrange that. I mean, that dialogue was so on point with high school students, and the whole thing of like, oh, so I got pulled into the boys' dress locker room or whatever it is, and you're just like, oh, here it is. And they even have that moment where she's kind of above it all, where she's in the classroom and she can talk about like, English literature or whatever it is she's going on and on about. And everyone's like, what the fuck is she talking about? But Michael Myers is parked across the street. And by the way, we're stealing a station wagon with like, Smith Grove Institute. I mean, come on, bro. Let's get a little, like, there's other vehicles we can boost to keep our profile down. You ripped off a station wagon with fucking bars with a cage in it. And it's like, it says Smith Grove Institution or what, and you're cruising around town like that. And coincidentally, you're cruising around town when a psychiatrist shows up and warns the police department the craziest killer you've ever experienced or witnessed or heard about is coming to your town. And at what point does Brackett, is that his name, Brackett, be like, Marvin, get the state troopers on the line. We might have a situation brewing here. People have seen a hijacked station wagon cruising town around schools, around multiple schools, following people throughout the and this doctor is saying somebody's on his way here. So maybe, I don't know, let's put the department on alert. Can we call in the guys that are off duty tonight? And do we call the state? Can we make none of that? It's just like, I'm going to sit by his house. And like, what kind of police work is this, Brackett? Seriously, what kind of police work are we on? But I buy it. I buy the whole fucking movie, man.
I'll go you one more on the same vein.
Yeah.
So this is the station wagon. The psychiatrist and the nurse drove out
to
the asylum.
Does anyone report this break in the institution, by the way, when it happes? Is there like a statewide announcement? Anyway, continue.
Broke the window.
Yeah.
Did you replace that window? Or was the window always down? Like, you could go into these kind of rabbit holes. But
only because it's fun, not because only because it's fun, not because we're mocking the movie. But
yeah, they're on they're outside the hardware store.
Yeah,
and the car drives behind the psychiatrist that was driving the car. It's like I think
it's a Michael Myers crime scene. He's driving by his own crime scene from earlier. The alarm's still going off, so he was just there. Right? Continue.
And they said as they were doing screenings, as this movie built, he said it became Rocky Horror Picture like.
I bet.
People started yelling at the screen. People started dressing in the characters. People it just became this carnival. And again, I go back to the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis is still going to these events and functions and chatting with people and doing the whole 9 yards.
Good.
God love her.
So you haven't lived until you've watched a movie like Halloween with an African-American audience. I'm going to tell you, because they are very candid. And my wife is hilarious to watch these movies with. And I remember, like, she pointed out what we all know, what we all witness is like, bitch, you just put down the knife. like, what are you doing? Like, there's so many moments where she's chimed in. And one of those moments, the only time we really see any law enforcement from Brackett is when Loomis pulls out his gun and he jumps and he's got a gun, and like Brackett is looking at it and Loomis goes, "Oh, I have a permit." It's like, that's the only bit of police work that's like, "Oh, you've got a cannon in your pocket." You got, and my wife is like, "Oh, what's that?"
You just triggered something. It was one of the best lines I ever heard. I think it was a comedian, Wallace. I'm not sure. But he said, you've got to go see Fatal Attraction with a black audience, because the best line he ever heard was a woman that yelled at the screen, "Michael Douglas, don't go in that room. She's behind the door with a knife, and she don't work for Benihana."
Yeah. I look.
Oh,
I am totally serious. And if people were smart, if the rights owners of the film were smart, they would drop this back in theaters. And the experience would be to like go to a Magic Johnson theater. You'll have the time of your life. You'll laugh through the whole fucking movie. It'll be great. Like I've seen some movies with some crowds and they have brought new life to it. You know, it's just absolutely hilarious. And they should do it with all these movies. I mean, if you showed The Fog, The Thing, Christine, drop it all in like a four wallet in like someplace on the edge of Los Angeles, you know, you would, first of all, who doesn't want to see it on the big screen? But audiences will just make it so much better and so much more fun. And Halloween is gold like that because it's loaded with moments where you're like, wait a minute, what? And it's just so funny. I mean, I'm just thinking about that scene now where she's stuck in the window too. She's conveniently stuck in the window and, you know, she gets the phone call and it's like, you know, her boyfriend, like, where are all these guys? Like, if you had girlfriends like that in high school, you're not doing anything on Halloween night. You're babysitting with them, right? We know how it works. It's amazing. Like, where are all these dudes? Like, what are they doing? You got girlfriends that are ready to go, and you're supposed to be some 16-year-old dude. It's like, the sun's down. I'm at your front door like fucking 4 minutes after dinner. You know, it's like kind of hilarious, you know. But they're all like out somewhere and they're calling and they're like these boyfriends are somewhere in the neighborhood doing these things. Like, where is Ben Tramer? Well, Ben Tramer gets killed in the second one. But like, where are these guys? You know, they're like, she's in a fucking borrowed shirt doing like washing her clothes in the laundry, getting stuck in the window. Where are you? You're the boyfriend. Like, come on, without saying what I'm saying. You know what I mean? All right. We should do a viewing party.
That was another critique someone said about the portrayal of the teenage girls or whatever it was. And it's like, it was so spot on. Like that you kind of pointed out earlier too. It's like, yeah, that all the relationship with those three girls is perfect, and they weren't over sexualized. They weren't, you know, but you're in that, as I say, in that teenage years of hormonal imbalance and craziness, and they treated it with like they weren't overly sexualized. You know,
no,
and the one that
it was done with taste. It was done with good taste.
In fact, PJ said she was at a screening because she improvised a line when she drops the seat and says, "See anything you like?" And I guess the guy behind her went, "Hell yeah!" And she said, "I had to wait till the theater full left because I didn't want anyone to know it was actually me."
Oh, come on, PJ. That part of the story I'm going to openly question because, come on, you're watching a movie where it's iconic and you've got an iconic moment and you're waiting to leave the theater before the crowd. Come on, PJ. Who do you take this for?
I actually buy her because it was, you know, it was an improv and she dropped the sheet. That's nudity.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of funny because I've heard Jamie Lee Curtis and other people watching the movie, and it's interesting what they point out about it. And but the way the thing flows, man, it's very effective. It's a fun, like I said, the props go back to the very beginning for Carpenter and Deborah Hill to take this film seriously. When we've all been in low budget experiences where people just want to collect the check for the 4 weeks. They're going to do minimum effort. No is the answer to everything. But those guys really tried to make an effective movie, and careers, rightfully so, were built on it. The movie from start to finish is great any time of year, but definitely around Halloween, man. Did your kids watch this with you? What did they think? They've probably already seen it, haven't they?
No, you know what? Yeah, no, we haven't watched movies together in a while. they're in that teenage phase of doing their own thing, and hanging with dad isn't as cool as it was.
Oh, I disagree, especially when your dad is Jeremy Ratchford, the master of the chuck wagon and Landman, or what
Well,
is
we
it?
were because Rev and I are the movie guys, and we made a promise to watch Butch Cassidy when we were doing the Redford kind of retrospect.
Gold.
And we have yet to see it because he's had a basketball practice, he's had a project, he got his mom's, and it's like we just keep kind of checking back in, going, "What do I do? What do I do? Like that's an iconic movie. We got to do it."
And he'll like it. He'll like it.
We did. We sort of started a Christmas tradition. Came back here with my boys and we watched Key Largo. Is it Key Largo?
Yeah, there's Key Largo, right, with Edward G. Robinson.
Yeah, and Bogart. And the premise of that I just love, like the hotel on the edge of the thing and the storm and blah, 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 blah. But I didn't realize my eldest is a big fan of the genre. Like one of his favorite movies is Casablanca. And I was like, oh, fuck, what a world, let's go. So we watched Key Largo. Yeah, Johnny, yeah. All these iconic movies. So that was cool.
Let me give you a recommendation if you don't already know it. Yes, Casablanca, brilliant. Key Largo's fun. Edward G. Robinson is good in just about everything he did. My favorite film by him is Larceny, Inc. Have you seen that? It's a Christmas movie. It's a Christmas movie, and right out of the gate, they're on the Sing Sing baseball team, and they have to, they're playing a baseball game in prison. But that movie, Larceny, Inc., and it's available everywhere. I will say you've got to get your hands on that. That's probably Edward G. Robinson's best, funniest role. He's fantastic in it. He's got a great supporting cast. He literally he takes over a luggage shop in Christmas so he can tunnel under it to the bank. But the luggage shop becomes the hit. They can't seem to get the tunnel part right. But anyway, I'm not giving it away because the whole movie's gold. But see that, man. See that with your kid, Larceny, Inc. Any other Halloween recommendations before we conclude? What else you got? What else? Well, we know what you haven't seen. What? Audio Sabata put on Audio Sabata and welcome the trick-or-treaters.
No, I want to go back and find Student Bodies. Again, we touched on it at the beginning, but From Dusk Till Dawn, I watched it again. We were going to do it last Halloween, I think.
We'll have to circle back on that later in the week, but Dusk Till Dawn is available. You know who's in that? You know who's in Dusk Till Dawn? Our boy, Johnny Fatos Hernandez from Oingo Boingo. He's in that band that turns into vampires and explodes. So there's a personal connection. Well, there's probably a lot of personal connections. I haven't looked at it recently, but we probably know 40% of the cast. But yeah, there you go. So continue.
It's really, cool as a cucumber, and this is when he was, becoming Clooney. But they just threatened to kill everybody for no. There's a great line Harvey Keitel kind of says, "Can't you take the win? Like you got out of you robbed the bank, you got past the border. Can't you just take the win? Why do you got to be an asshole?" And then we're supposed to side with them while the bedlam breaks down. And I was just like, yeah, I don't know. There's that. I don't know.
Well, when we circle back on this in a few days, I think we all know where Jeremy Ratchford's coming from on this, but we'll break it down with some clips. But before we get into that, I have to do that one on a later date. But I didn't expect Halloween to be so fun to talk about, honestly, with you. So forgive me. But
yeah,
so what
Halloween.
else? All right, give me two other recommendations. So obviously we both recommend Halloween for Halloween. And it doesn't matter if you've seen it or how many times you've seen it. It works.
I couldn't find it, but is it Night of the Comet?
Yes, and that is available on YouTube. Night of the Comet. There's another recommendation. All right, give me number 3. What else you got?
Oh, And then I thought about this one, Wait Until Dark.
Yeah, Audrey Hepburn.
And
Right.
Adam Arkin. Adam Arkin plays
Mm-hmm.
the bespectacled, cool as a cucumber, fucking villain. And that one, talk about another where it's like the direction or the like sort of like Halloween, where it's like the suspense, the continued like the
Yeah, I am a fan of Wait Until Dark, for sure. Absolute gold. It's a bit of a masterpiece too, kind of a Hitchcockian masterpiece. So let me see if I'm I'm not going to surprise anyone with anything on my list. I think Halloween is definitely, you don't lose with that movie. If you're sitting there, nobody needs to be convinced to put Halloween on Halloween. You're all going to do it. But let's just say I'm talking to somebody who's coming out of a 40-year coma and he's like, I want to watch something for Halloween for the first time in 40 years. I'd say, well, that's going to be Halloween. That's also going to probably be The Haunting with Richard Johnson, our buddy. And, I also still like the Universal Monster Machine movies on Halloween. So I would say any one of those, Dracula, you can even bounce around something with Vincent Price. I just watched House of Wax.
Yeah.
I just rewatched House of Wax, which has that great reveal. That great reveal when she's like, boom, and it's like shatters. Anyway, I'm not going to, yeah. Although, and that was shot on the Warner Brothers backlot. I remember cruising around in my golf cart, looking at all those locations going, House of Wax. Well, fuck, it was 101, Blade Runner, Gotham. But anyway, Larceny Inc. was also shot back there. So those, my recommendations aren't going to like, remodel anyone's house, so to speak, but fun stuff. And we'll be back to talk more Dusk Till Dawn after I've had a chance to see it because I couldn't get to it last night due to another emergency. But in the meantime, Jeremy Ratchford giving you everything you need to know. What were you going to say?
I don't know if we need to do it.
Well, let's find something else.
I was so turned off by it last night that it's like, it gives me the creeps now just to think about it.
Well, I'm going to tell you too, after we've done White Buffalo, which I swear should be an Abominable Snowman movie, not a Buffalo movie, I don't know if there's anything left to do in the horror genre. I think we've done it all, my friend. White Buffalo is like the fucking polar ice cap of horror movie expeditions. So who knows? But we'll think of something. We'll think of something because the world is better when you get to engage with Jeremy Ratchford on craziness. And that is what we do here, folks. That's what we do. Buddy, we love you. Thank you for coming out today and talking about Halloween. Shame on you for waiting all this time to see it, but props to you for seeing it ultimately.
I'm so glad that I did though, man. I'm so glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I discovered this movie. Albeit
hey, bro,
40,
I'm going to
50
put it on. I'm going to put it on Halloween when I'm waiting for trick-or-treaters. You're welcome to come over. I'll get the margarita mix. I'll order the takeout. We'll do the whole deal. We can even sit in my graveyard out front. Yeah. We can watch the movie, sit in my graveyard out front, scare the kids like I used to do with Jeff Conaway when he would throw on his T-Birds jacket and werewolf mask and terrorize his neighborhood. And we can live it up. We can live it up on Friday. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween, babies.
They come out of darkness, sometimes with thunder, sometimes with lightning. Their presence means death. The prison master is afraid of him. The guards were afraid of him. The town is afraid of him. Lucifer is coming for you. Rest easy, Jack Carr said in a low tone. You're in the final 30 seconds of your life. No quarter. No quarter. Kill all masters. Coming soon